right, we're here with Forrest. This is the guy who let me drive his race car. We're at his shop. This is his Roadrunner. So tell us a little about it, Forrest.
Oh, this is a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner. My dad gave it to me whenever I was 17, so I've had it for several years now. And being a teenage kid, I've done a bunch of stupid stuff to it, and it survived. And since it has survived, I've gone through now and tried to put it back to the best that I can do and how I want it to be done. This is my car, so I'm going to build it the way I want it. But the factory color, I wasn't real fond of it at first. Whenever they come out with a new upgraded version, I really fell in love with it, so I painted it back the factory F8 green. Like I said, I've done a bunch of stupid stuff to the car when I was younger, so like the grill, things like that, I had that powder coated, the bumper was powder coated, and that was because of me being a dumb kid. Did stuff to the front grill that was unfixable. So I just had it powder coated just to cover up all the stuff I'd done to it when I was younger. The originally came out with a 383, and I still have that engine. But the engine I prefer running would be the 440 or the 440 based big block. So I went and built me a 512 stroker, which is right here behind it. And that is the engine that I have been running in it here lately. And if you're going to build an engine, big block engine, I would recommend a 512. It's just the cubic inches just makes so much more power than just a regular 440 does. The heads that I used to run on it were made by a guy that not many people know, but they were zeekers. And zeeker heads were just big. They made them for the Pro Comp Eliminator cars back in the day, back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And they were called the door slammers, and they had to be naturally aspirated. They didn't have blowers and stuff. So they had to make all the power they could out of naturally aspiration. So that's why you wound up with things like heads with runners that look like that, with 2 1/4 intake valves and 190 exhaust valves.
Yeah, tape measure to show the size of the ports.
Oh, the size of the ports. There's tape right here. But that's a 3-inch tall port that is 1.5 inches wide. And people would tell me that there was no way that my 512 would make 1,100 horsepower. But whenever you have heads like these combined with a fuel injection system that had the equally sized ports with these monster throttle bodies on it, it was capable of making that kind of horsepower. Very hard to drive, but it can make the horsepower. So I decided, since I want to drive the car every now and then, I would detune it, and I'm keeping the same size camshaft, but I decided to go with a smaller, more streetable version head. And since I had a set, from a previous 440, I decided to run my stage 6s, which is something that I'd had from before. They only made like 650 horsepower. It was on a 440. And it had the negative 13 cc pistons in it and such. But it's a good running engine. And lots of torque. I was just running just a 590 lift cam, roller cam, which made lots of torque. Not a lot of horsepower, but a whole lot of torque. Which made it fun to drive on the street. But that is where I'm at on this one.
So the ports from
Oh, and
all you done.
what he's showing you now is a difference in the port size. I did a port job on these, mainly on the exhaust side. I did a little bit on the intake. Not a lot, but a little bit. And
the other one.
It's to match the M1 intake that goes with it. And these, I just port matched and then blended is all I did. But that's the intake that goes with the 440 raised setup for the stage 6 heads. There is quite a bit of difference. If you look, these are untouched, but you can look at the size difference between these ports and these ports. And all I basically did was just port matched to my headers that I'm going to be running, which there is a big difference. And the stage 6 is a good streetable head. They flow water well. Makes it good for just run up and down the road. The problem with the stage 6s is they were made for being able to run up and down the road, so they didn't push port sizes, things like that on it. There's nothing to stop you from doing it yourself or having it done yourself to make them flow to where they are good for performance as well as driving on the street. But like I said, I chose these because I'd bought these a long time ago and they were good heads for me then. I figured they'd continue to be good heads for me now, so that's why I'm going with them. And the Power Dominator is the carburetor I'm going to be running on it. I ran it before, but I didn't put it up proper. So now I have to tear it all down, go through it completely to bring it back to where it'll run and operate like it's supposed to. But that's what happens whenever you don't put things up right. And that's pretty much it that I have on my Roadrunner.
Well, want to show the rear suspension?
Oh, there is a couple of things I did to this car that I won't change because of how well it worked. I basically took a ladder bar style setup and blended it with my leaf spring setup. And you have to set up the ladder bars to match the ride height that you want. But once you get everything done right, you'll have a car that plants really, really hard. And this one would plant hard enough that no trans brake, no funky business, just foot brake, stomp on the throttle. It would plant hard enough that it would pull the left front off the ground. You know, it was only a couple inches, but it would still do it.
And for the people that think you're bullshitting, you got a video of it. So
Yeah, I do have video. And it would do the same thing on the street as well. On this old nasty asphalt, it would do the exact same thing. And I'm not, the suspension, I don't know if he'll be able to show you or not.
yeah, I'll get down. Yeah.
It is a simple ladder bar suspension with the bracket, welded bracket on the rear end with the built the bracket onto the front to tie the ladder bar into the front with the leaf spring. Now, some people may think that may take away from all my suspension travel, but as you can see, it still has good travel. And I don't really know how some of you guys are on your street rods, but back in the old days, whenever I was street racing, we had to come up with ways to make our cars work. Then they started producing the stuff that you could buy. But that was one of my little tricks that I had that worked well. But one of the things I'm proud of is the interior on this car. She's kind of an old car, but I really like my car. Just trying to bring her back to where I can enjoy driving it again. But kind of like the song said, I'm not ready for the rocking chair yet, and I'm not ready to slow my car down yet neither. So I'll be an old man out there driving my car fast.